All right, let's talk about the positive side here in the shout out. Let me start with this. This is New York specific, but everywhere in the country, people should be demanding this. And I want to be really clear. Demanding things like immediate rent freezes and is essential completely. And it also opens up a bigger conversation of what we need to have, because we need to have, as an example, of course, national rent control in this country, serious, high quality and massively deployed public housing. So homelessness is a thing that, and housing insecurity generally does not exist in this country. And we also need a big jubilee. We need to wipe medical debt. We need to wipe student debt. The same computer key that can put a pause if the federal government directs it, or just manifest trillions of dollars to in theft for corporations, including the Mars company, right, and the candy manufacturers. This is going to be larded up with every piece of corporate bullshit imaginable, overseen by absolutely horrid, despicable people like Steve Mnuchin. We have the money to do everything. And if you're in New York, I want you to look at this document we have up. This is a great piece. This is from Mutual Aid NY Group. And it's a comprehensive list. I tweeted it out too. Maybe if you know what, just pause on it for a second and take a screenshot. These are all the different people you can call to demand that there be a rent stoppage in New York. And again, every state needs a version of this bill, and you need to demand, obviously, that this happen on a federal level. I don't know what's in the federal bill at this. If landlords from mass corporations, I've heard things on both ends. I've heard examples in local communities where I know of one landlord who came forward and said, look, I would just like people to help me with water and utility bill, but I'm not collecting extra rent. So they knocked it off, like $700. That's great. And that a small scale landlord can choose to do things like that. That's great. I've seen texts from big landlord conglomerates saying you're still obligated to pay full at the end of the month. If you get a text like that, you should share it on social media. And you should let the world know about the kind of people and corporations you're dealing with. And that's absolutely something I would do. Now, you need to call everybody. In New York, it so happens, and let's get to the senator's tweet next. Senator Mike Gianaris from Queens has a cancel rent bill in the state Senate. Julia Salazar, among others, have co-sponsored it. And tomorrow, and I will tweet out, we will all tweet out, maybe we'll try to put in the show notes a directory number for the New York State Senate where you can call. And again, I would call and I would do all of these things. I would call your senators, your reps, demand they co-sponsor a version of Rashida's Boost Act, ask them to make sure the DOJ indefinite detention does not go through. And on each state level in New York, you can call for a rent freeze with the Gianaris bill, but every single state in the country should have comprehensive rent freeze legislation that then, of course, leads to other steps in terms of rent control and public housing. If this doesn't happen on a policy level, and in order to make it happen on a policy level, people need to take initiative and make power and do power. And the importance of labor can never be underestimated. Labor is key. There's no strategic way for the left without mass labor or mobilization, because that is the only mass area that the left has countervailing power to capital. That's not a moral judgment. That's a strategic reality. Let's go give a shout out to these amazing Purdue workers in Georgia. Yeah. And this is happening across the country. People are walking off. Amazon factories have shut. From what I heard, I believe they shut down one, at least briefly, in Queens. People are walking off different jobs. It's dangerous. And do not listen to any of these motherfuckers who tell you to go back to work in this environment. Obviously, if you absolutely have to, you probably already are. Many Americans are in that situation. They're terrorized by the economy. We need to fight. The question is not allowing Donald Trump to seize the terrain of people needing to get a paycheck. The question is seizing a terrain from all of these people, which is that no one should live like this at any time, and your life should not be put at risk anytime. These Purdue workers did it. Let's play this clip.
Out of the plant Monday morning.
We're not getting nothing. No type of compensation, no nothing. Not even no cleanliness, no extra pay, no nothing. No here risking our life for chicken.
Kendall in Granville, one of the workers who left the plant, says people still working on the production line say they've been exposed to coronavirus.
All we're asking now is just to sanitize the building. Sanitize the building. Everybody that's been exposed to it, they need to go home. These folks are still on the floor.
Diamond Gray says this is about more than coronavirus concerns. She says they are tired of accepting the bare minimum.
There's talk about, there's going to be more promotion and more pay for the company, but nobody's seen that. But I think a lot of people are just tired, and the virus involved also. I think it's just got to the point to where enough is enough.
James Braz.
That's it. And I'm so glad she said that, because that first step of you're fucking killing us now. And then the second step of, and by the way, all this other stuff you've been talking about is not coming through either. So all props, all solidarity to them. It's very fast moving. And it's another thing that if you have the capacity, a lot of people don't, some people do. Let's look around to see, how to get resources to people who are walking off the job and striking and just not complying. Ultimately, that's the great irony of all of this. Everything is in favor of capital, except for your labor.
Well, and that's the thing too, that's very, it was making this moment very clear for a lot of people too, is the power that labor has. So you see in that clip, folks are recognizing the fact that, if they stop going to work, this entire country would shut down. I grew up, growing up when I was in South Carolina, a lot of my good friends, their parents were truck drivers, and they always were very passionate about the ideas like, if I didn't go into work, you wouldn't have anything on the shelves. And it's even more true now. I mean, we're even more reliant on the ability of all the transit that goes into our basic consumer goods right now. And I think the more power that workers recognize they have, the more that they can exercise that. And I think this could be a very important, actually, reshuffling moment if we have the political will and the organizations to capture that energy.
100%. And that's the momentum, and that's the energy, and that's that belief in those people, like those extraordinary people that we just watched in that video, taking that incredibly courageous decision, which is fucking terrifying, and going up against, a pernicious, disgusting thing like Purdue, that, by the way, is risking your life right now. You heard the other part of that. Like, they're risking the virus getting into their supply chain happily. So, be very aware of the, if what they're saying is true, which I 1,000,000% people don't like when I, go beyond 100. So let me say I 1,000,000,000,000% believe those workers.
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.